Hello everyone, and welcome to Key to Theosophy 23. You know the drill by now. I section them in little sections like 23, but in the real section in here, we're in section 6. And I appreciate you being here. There is a link to the text down below, the original text, so you can actually download it and study it for yourself. It's free. They're all free. And these teachings of compassion and understanding and empathy and unity and purpose, I often equate them to what you hear when you actually hear somebody coming back from a near-death experience. They talk about this crushing love and understanding of connectedness and empathy for all beings and no fear of death. It is that, but if you'd like to find that out without having a near-death experience, I highly recommend the study of these ancient teachings. It isn't a sale of these books. These books are free. You can get them free online. Go to the Living Theosophy website. You can download. They are free. They're all over the place. So I have found them. I came across them. I have begun to study and apply and practice them, and I found my life to be much, much happier. Life still throws you curveballs, but there's a lot more coping, just ability to understand a much bigger picture, and there is calm and purpose. So let's get to it. The Theosophical teachings as to nature and man, evolution and illusion. Inquirer, but who is it that creates each time the universe? Theosophist answers, no one creates it. Science would call the process evolution. The pre-Christian philosophers and the Orientalists called it emanation. We occultists and Theosophists see in it only the universal and eternal reality, casting a periodical reflection of itself on the infinite spatial depths. This reflection, which you regard as the objective material universe, we consider as a temporary illusion and nothing else. That alone which is eternal is real. Inquirer, at that rate, you and I are also illusions. Theosophist answers, as flitting personalities. Today one person, tomorrow another, we are. Would you call the sudden flashes of the aurora borealis, the northern lights, a reality? Though it is as real as can be while you look at it. Certainly not. It is the cause that produces it, if permanent and eternal, which is the only reality, while the other is but a passing illusion. Inquirer, all this does not explain to me how this illusion, called the universe, originates, how the conscious to be proceeds to manifest itself from the unconscious that is. Theosophist, it is unconsciousness only to our finite consciousness. Verily, may we paraphrase verse 5 in the first chapter of St. John and say, absolute light, which is darkness, shineth in darkness, which is illusionary material light, and the darkness comprehendeth it not. This absolute light is also absolute and immutable law, whether by radiation or emanation. We need not quarrel over terms. The universe passes out of its homogeneous subjectivity onto the first plane of manifestation, of which planes there are 7, we are taught. With each plane, it becomes more dense and material until it reaches this, our plane, on which the only world approximately known and understood in its physical composition by science is the planetary or solar system, or one sui generis. Now, sui generis is a Latin phrase that means of its own kind. Inquirer says, what do you mean by sui generis? Theosophist, I mean that, though the fundamental law and the universal working of laws of nature are uniform, still our solar system, like every other such system in the millions of others in cosmos, and even our Earth, has its own program of manifestations, differing from the respective programs of all others. We speak of the inhabitants of other planets and imagine that if they are men, i.e. thinking entities, they must be as we are. The fancy of poets and painters and sculptors never failed to represent even the angels as a beautiful copy of man, but with wings. We say that all of this is an error and a delusion, because if on this little earth alone one finds such a diversity in its flora and fauna and mankind, from the seaweed to the cedar of Lebanon, from the jellyfish to the elephant, from the savage to the Apollo Belvedere, alter the conditions, cosmic and planetary, and there must be quite a different flora and fauna and mankind. The same laws will fashion quite a different set of things and beings, even on this our plane, including in it all our planets. How much more different, then, must be external nature in other solar systems? And how foolish is it to judge of other stars and worlds and human beings by our own, as physical science does? Inquirer. But what are your data for this assertion? Theosophist. What science in general will never accept as proof: the cumulative testimony of an endless series of seers who have testified to this fact. Their spiritual visions, real explorations by and through physical and spiritual senses, untrammeled, which means not confined or limited by blind flesh, were systematically checked and compared one with the other, and their nature sifted. All that was not corroborated by unanimous and collective experience was rejected, while that only was recorded as established truth, which, in various ages, under different climes, which means climate and zones, and throughout an untold series of incessant observations, was found to agree and receive constantly further corroboration, verification. The methods used by our scholars and students of the psycho-spiritual sciences do not differ from those of students of the natural and physical sciences, as you may see. Only our fields of research are on two different planes, and our instruments are made by no human hands, for which reason perchance they are the more reliable. The accumulators and microscopes of the chemist and naturalist may get out of order, and the telescope and the astronomer's horological, which means the study and measurement of time, instruments, may get spoiled. Our recording instruments are beyond the influence of weather or the elements. Inquirer. And therefore you have implicit faith in them. Theosophist. Faith is a word not to be found in the Theosophical dictionaries. We say knowledge based on observation and experience. There is this difference, however, that while the observation and experience of physical science led the scientists to about as many working hypotheses as there are minds to evolve them, our knowledge consents to add to its lore only those facts which have become undeniable and which are fully and absolutely demonstrated. We have no two beliefs or hypotheses on the same subject. Inquirer. Is it on such data that you came to accept the strange theories we find in esoteric Buddhism? Theosophist. Just so. These theories may be slightly incorrect in their minor details, and even faulty in their exposition by lay students. They are facts in nature, nevertheless, and come nearer to the truth than any scientific hypothesis. There you go. I do want to clarify in these writings, this beautiful writing that came through in the end of the 19th century, although it is ancient, it was written down by people that were living in the 19th century. And there is a significant difference in the language of the Victorian and Edwardian period. The word savage is used to define some of us who are born with a closer connection to the lower human or animal nature. And ironically, this could certainly apply to many humans classified as civilized today, because it's true that many species of animal display more compassion, love, and understanding than much of humanity. So, thank you for joining me today. We are getting further and further along in some of our technology. You can download the text. It'll be included in the link. You can get free text over the Living Theosophy bookshop on livingtheosophy.com. This is a labor of love. This is just me. I'm a former radio and television broadcaster using my voice to share these teachings, to bring them from the shelves to the digital world, and just to be of service. That's it. Like I said, like a worker bee. helping to cross-pollinate. It's a brilliant, I got that from some folks down under, my friends. Another Theosophist had mentioned that that's what we are. It is not about us as individual personalities as much as it is the teachings. Remember, I say this all the time, we can never say this enough, the platform from which the teachings are to be taught from is meant for the teachings, not the teacher, or the lodge, or the organization, or the church, or a society. It is for the teachings. So that's what I'm doing. I'm taking this to the social media platforms. So you can find me on all things, I say me, you can find Living Theosophy on all things Living Theosophy. I invite you to follow this channel if you will. Please subscribe, click the bell for notifications, pick up the teachings wherever you wish. We also do Light on the Path, live book studies. We're gonna go in to do Voice in the Silence, live book studies here on this channel. I'm using my 1980s, 90s, and noughties broadcasting experience to enter the new world of broadcasting, which is live streaming and social media. So you'll find us on all things Living Theosophy. Us is just me. Anything received here from the sale of the audiobooks, it all goes into keeping these teachings free and keeping them out there in the world and making sure that everyone who can have access to the internet can have them. They don't have to go to the libraries. They don't have to go to the lodges. They can have them. And the application and the transmutation takes place not from anybody giving it to you. They cannot give this to you, cannot ordain you. It happens within yourself. The path that you are looking for is inside you. It's closer than your own breath. I love you. I'll see you next time.